So thanks to everybody here and beyond, our voices is getting stronger and stronger. It got so strong that in January 2018, it sent a shockwave through the Beacon Hill in Boston, when more than 1,000 people packed the State House to testify against Bill H-3361 that called for data disaggregation for Asian Americans only. Many of us talked to our state legislators before the hearing, and we asked for their support. And the grand prize went to our friends in Andover, when their representative joined us in the hearing and testified with us. Please welcome Representative Jim Lyons.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Boston, my fellow Americans. So I have to share a couple of stories with you today. The first one is H-3361, and my involvement in it and the involvement of the Chinese community. It is truly the highlight of my 7 years as a legislator. About a year or so ago, I think it was in the summer of last year, I got a phone call from a couple of my constituents, Scott and Joanna from Andover, and they began to tell me about H-3361 and the impact that it would have on the Chinese community and how they viewed it. So I happen to have a barn in the back of my house, and I said, well, why don't we have a meeting at the barn, and we'll bring people out and we'll talk about it, and we'll see what we think we can do. Now remember, on Beacon Hill there's 125 Democrats and there's 34 Republicans, and I'm one of those 34 Republicans, and to be quite honest with you, I'm very outspoken about the things that I believe in, and members of the leadership sometimes aren't too keen about me getting involved in too many political battles, and they really do try to, as someone mentioned earlier, quiet us and shut us down. But I was really looking forward to listening to these folks, and my wife and I said, well, we'll probably have 10 or 15 people at the barn, and we'll listen and see what these folks have to say. So after the first 10 or 15 people showed up, I looked at my wife in the driveway. People just kept coming and coming and coming. We had 100 people in my barn that night. 100 people in my barn. I literally turned to some of the folks that were there and said, I really feel like an American patriot today. I really feel like I'm at the bridge in Concord, where we're going to go in and we're going to take on the people on Beacon Hill who are going to try to take our rights away from us. And I listened to what their concerns were, and it brought me to the Declaration of Independence. We are guaranteed the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It doesn't say the Chinese community has to fill out a form to be entitled to those rights. It doesn't say that the state of Massachusetts can demand what your background is. It simply says that all Americans are entitled to right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And we determine. And they asked me, how can we stop this bill? And I said, number one, you have to be unafraid. You have to be unafraid. You have to stand up and politely and with resolute determination push back. Jim, what should we do? So as someone who's been involved in the political process since I was 18 years old, and I know that's only about 10 or 15 years ago, I do have an understanding of politics, and particularly Massachusetts politics. And I said, well, the first thing I think we want to do is we want to share with the sponsor of the bill our dissatisfaction. But we want to share them with why you were dissatisfied. We want to politely let them know what is going on. So I said, the first thing you want to do is you want to send an email to the chairman of the committee, the person that's filed the bill, Representative Taki Chan. So they did. About 2 weeks later, I was in the chamber and Representative Chan came up to me and said, Jim, enough with the emails. There was 275, 300 emails, and they just kept coming and coming and coming. So we brought it to his attention. That was step number one, to have your community unite in opposition to a particular bill. That is what we call grassroots politics in America, and that is politics 101, where people unite and they move forward as a group and steadfastly make sure that our opponents know what we stand for. We don't have to do it in a mean way. We don't have to do it in an angry way. We have to do it in a peaceful, loving way and point out to people, this is what that bill does to me in my community. And that's exactly what these folks did. And then the day of this hearing, I have to tell you, I had another hearing in the morning, and Scott and a group of the Chinese community came in, and we had a little meeting, and I said, I'll be down at about 1 o'clock. I had no idea what I was walking into. I had absolutely no idea. I walked into this Gardner auditorium, and there wasn't another seat to be found anywhere. And as I walked in, I looked around, and I didn't know whether these folks were with us or against us when I first walked in. I didn't know whether the other side, because I knew that the other side had been geared up and they wanted this law to be passed. And so as I walked in, as a legislator, you can have an opportunity to let the chairman know that you want to speak. So I let them know that I wanted to speak, and 3 of us walked down, and as we walked down, the auditorium erupted in applause. It was just an amazing opportunity for me to sit down, and I sat down and I looked at the chairman and I said, Mr. Chairman, I really want to apologize, for the loud applause. I think these folks thought Tom Brady was in the house. And in the event, that day proved to be pivotal in the journey to defeat this piece of discriminatory legislation. And because of the efforts of you people in the community that you represent, you had a loud, clear voice on Beacon Hill. We are not going to be put into a corner and be discriminated against because of our heritage. And the way the bill was explained to me is the way, I'm an Irish Catholic. My father was a proud Irishman. And if anyone ever told him that he had to go fill out a form to get the benefits that he's entitled to as an American citizen, let me tell you, all hell would have broke loose. And the way and no Asian American, no Chinese American, no American should ever be put in that position. But yet that's what the progressives on Beacon Hill want to do. They want to control every aspect of your life. They want to know everything about you. And that's not what America is all about. America is about freedom. America is about individual responsibility. And America is about standing up for the values that you people believe in. And it was the efforts of the people in the grassroots and the job that they did to bring it to a legislator. And for you, the work that you did was because of you. And there's a great lesson to be learned in that. I'm also going to share with you another story that happened on Beacon Hill. Scott's asked me to, and a couple of other folks have asked me to. I don't know how many of you people are familiar with the Gender X bill, but there's a bill that was trying to be passed in the last day of session. We have a Senate president who determined that one of the most important pieces of legislation that should be passed is on our license. We have male and female, and she thought it was important that we put X for anybody else, as if there isn't anybody else. But that's a priority of the progressives on Beacon Hill. We have male, female, and gender X. So we came back around 10:15 at night. It was the last night of session. Now it's important for you to know that one legislator can shut down the session at midnight, no matter what was on the agenda. And I've done that 5 years in a row. Because I've learned that when the Democrats want to do things at midnight, nothing good is going to happen. And they're all well aware of that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to shut it down. So the Senate President, this bill came over, it's called the Gender X bill, and I heard it was coming over, and it was about 10:15, so I went down to the clerk, and I said, when that bill comes over, can we amend it? Oh yeah, you can amend it. I said, okay, good. So I immediately went over to the desk, and I pulled out my cell phone, and I said, I want to file 73 amendments to the bill. And people did what you did. They started laughing. 73 amendments. I said, according to Facebook, there are 73 genders. And I said in Massachusetts, we cannot leave anybody behind. So the young people at the desk started frantically typing in the amendments, and I only got to 35. So it still was able to give me what I needed, which was 6 hours worth of debate. And since it was 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night, if they brought it to the floor, I was clearly going to debate for 6 hours because I could talk about each one of the amendments. So the leadership in the House had some bills that they wanted to get through. So they came to me and they said, Representative, would you mind, not objecting to us shutting the House down at midnight? And I said, if you do that, we'll make sure that the Gender X bill doesn't get to the floor. And I said, no, I'm not going to agree to that because I know I can shut the House down at midnight anyhow. So, and I said, by the way, I don't trust you people anymore. It really doesn't matter what you tell me, you can do whatever you want. So only another 15 minutes went by, and one of the Republicans came over to me and said, really, I went into the Speaker's office. There is really an important piece of legislation that we want to get through, and even the governor, Jim, wants to get through. Is there any way to go along with this? And I said, so you're telling me, you're guaranteeing me that these bills will be killed if I let it go past midnight? They said, absolutely. So I said, that's fine. So I went back to my desk, and I had 35 amendments on my desk, and midnight comes and goes, and all of a sudden, all the Democrats are looking over and they're saying, Lyons, how come you're not shutting the House down? So I said, I made a deal with the Speaker. And I said, and they start looking at the bills. Do anyone know what gender fluid is? Does anyone know what two-spirit is? Does anyone know what cis-female is? Well, these are the kinds of things that they're out there that I had no idea, but according to Facebook, there are 73 other genders. So these Democrats are up in the back of the chamber, and I do maintain a very good relationship with these people. They're all laughing just like you were laughing. So Jim, that was great. We didn't want to go on that stupid bill anyhow. So anyhow, I think a couple of the things that happened was I'm in the ice cream business, and you go to the ice cream store, we sell soft serve ice cream, and you said you want to put chocolate sprinkles or rainbow sprinkles on your ice cream, whatever you knows what that is. And one of the Democrats said, hey Jim, you need to file another amendment to the bill. I said, what's that? He said, you only can sell gender-neutral genders, no more rainbow genders. That was what the Democrats wanted me to file, but I refused to do it. So the message, folks, is twofold. Number one, when groups organize and groups work together, despite the odds, you can make a difference. don't be afraid. One person can make a difference. And you people started to make a difference when you stood up and said, we're going to go talk to our legislator, and it's because of the efforts of your community. And the message that I heard earlier today is loud and clear. We have to be smart. We have to be determined. And we have to remember one thing. We are all